Hello, my name is Voya and welcome to my deep guide, slightly different edition. It's 30 degrees, it's summer, I'm not gonna be cramped up in the room, and also in Norway you gotta value nice days because, you know, winter is coming. Today it's July 22nd, so Reinkstone R1 Kickstarter campaign is a success. I just wanted to kind of summarize what have we learned so far about the device, about the campaign, and all of that kind of stuff. So I got my trusty Note Air here, yeah, basically, why is Reinkstone a big deal? Why is the potential of a color e-ink or an e-paper device a big deal? Well, this situation right here. So I'm outside and I'm using a display device on a very sunny day, and I see everything normally and I'm not using extra battery. So that's the whole point of e-paper devices. Now, the potential that the Reinkstone R1 promises is that for very little money, you can get like new technology of the screen and color and good performance, so to speak, and especially, you know, the benefits of being in these kind of circumstances, which is definitely a huge benefit. However, as I've already discussed, there are several issues that have been present with the device, with the campaign, with the company. It's been mulled over so many times, I'm not going to repeat myself. I'm just going to go over my points that I would like to kind of make, because now we have a bit of a more complete picture, especially with the second review that came out. So at the beginning of June, Reinkstone sent out, I believe, 5 review units to 5 different... There's flies everywhere. So yeah, they sent out 5 different units to 5 different journalists or review resources. One of them was Good e-Reader, and they were very, very diligent about this, because I believe they understood the importance of, you know, being one of those, how important it is to provide good information to the potential backers so that they know what they're getting into. And they were very, very good about that and very honest. However, it's always good to have, you know, views from different perspectives, and unfortunately we didn't have that until yesterday evening when we got the second review. So here we are today, which is the last day of the Kickstarter campaign, and when the Kickstarter campaign ends, because it's success, they get all the funds and the backers don't get to get refunds. So, you know, that's why the reviews were so important. And unfortunately, up to the conclusion of the Kickstarter campaign, we got only 2 reviews out of 5 units that were sent out. And here's basically what we can summarize from those 2 reviews that we've gotten so far. Both reviews paint a pretty clear and somewhat similar picture. Software is obviously in a very early stage. However, they also acknowledge, with only 3 months left, because now it's July is done, so you got August, September, and October, and in November they need to start shipping. So you got 3 months to get your act in order, and this is not there yet. This is maybe alpha. If we would be kind of generous, I would characterize it as an alpha, because we haven't seen many of the things functioning, and the things that we've seen functioning are not that great. However, software issues aside, which I will talk about, more worrying for me are hardware-related issues that we've been able actually to notice. 2 out of 5 review units that have been sent out had some form of hardware issues regarding the screen mainly. Good e-Reader had like a center part of the screen that just persistently didn't want to refresh, so the ghosting was persistently there. And the other reviewer had an issue that the black cells wouldn't refill, wouldn't refresh around the edges of the screen, no matter what he did. Now, maybe that's a software driver thing, but even as the reviewer said, it looks like it might be a hardware issue. Now, for me, that's a bit of a worry, because it indicates, you know, it's a new type of a panel, and whenever you're dealing with a new type of a panel, you have teething issues, you have teething problems, and when you know that you're going to have that, the best way to combat that is to implement a robust quality assurance stage. But I don't think that we're going to have that. At least it doesn't look like it. And we end up with a situation where, let's say that they have, I'm hypothesizing here, but let's say that they have 5 review units and 5 internal units that they're using for the development. So if you have a sample size of 10 units, and out of those 10, you already have inconsistency, that their own production units don't show problems that the good e-reader has or the other channel reviewer has. That's an inconsistency on a super tiny little sample, and I'm worried what's going to happen when you have, thousands of units. And in addition to that, we haven't seen a bunch of things that were promised and haven't been delivered yet. So first of all, we are being continually told that it's a dual front light system, but by the Reinkstone posts themselves, they said, yeah, we have an amber light, but it doesn't photograph well, or it doesn't look good when you photograph it. Well, who cares how it looks? I mean, show us how it works. We need to see how that works, I don't know, at least for me, that's something that would be important. I'm very disappointed that we still haven't seen a real-world example of writing. What I mean by that is setting the tablet down on the desk, opening a new page, setting a template with lines, and setting your hand down onto the screen and writing normally, continuously, several lines of text. All that we've seen so far are giant scribbles and some kind of nonsense that you will never ever do in real life. We've seen one example of left-handed contact with the screen and writing one word. So in that case, it kind of worked. But the problem is that the palm rejection technology is always very difficult to do, and it requires a tremendous amount of tweaking and back and forth and iterations to actually get it right. And I'm afraid that they're not doing that yet, and with 3 months and so many things left to do, I don't know how refined it's going to be when it's released, because when we write, we set our palm onto the screen, but it never remains still. It always moves. And that movement is the refinement thing that you have to iterate the hell out of it to actually nail it down, to tighten it up, and to kind of understand what it does and how it works. And that, to me, is an example of a real-world writing that we haven't seen so far, and that's very, very disappointing for me. We have seen surprisingly little about the reader functionality. Yeah, we've seen comic books, and I wish we didn't because of the ghosting issues, which are borderline catastrophic. But I'm more interested in normal reading, EPUBs, PDFs. Can you select text? Can you annotate? Can you bookmark? How does it work? How does it function? I mean, we've seen pretty much almost none of those things. We haven't seen e-reader capabilities. What are the formatting capabilities? Is there a split screen functionality or not? All of those things would need to be implemented in some way, shape, or form at this stage, but it looks like they're not. And coming back to the comic book performance, like, a lot of people will want to use this device for comic book reading, which makes sense. I mean, that's the whole point. And I understand that in the latest review that came out, that the app that was used, it was using sliding, and that's something that introduced ghosting. But I have to raise a question here, and that is, at what point are we going to stop calling horrible ghosting performance as bad ghosting, and at which point is acknowledged that it's actually malfunctioning? Because what we see so far, I can't characterize as functioning. Nova 3 had deep ghosting issues, and then they iterated and they fixed it up to a certain degree where it actually became functioning. It has ghosting issues, but it's definitely a functional thing. What I've seen so far from the Reinkstone, I can't really characterize that as functional. I mean, and whenever they're doing anything that they're working with the device, even when an empty screen is, after each operation, they hit that refresh button. That's not a solution. That just doesn't work. They also mention in their Facebook ad and everything else that it has text to, or handwriting to text conversion, and we haven't seen any examples of that so far. either. They've also stated in the same Facebook ad that it supports unlimited formats, which is, again, misleading concept and misleading type of a thing to say, because it's not unlimited formats. But even so, we haven't seen the device dealing with any different types of documents. Like, does it support PPT? Does it support XLS? Does it support document files? We don't know. We haven't seen any of those things yet. And finally, for me, the projected milestone plan that they have listed in their Kickstarter campaign, I've had a problem with that from the beginning. And that was one of the main things that was a big alarm bell. Shout out to Ian from Completely Unnecessary Podcast. Big problems. It's an issue because it lacks two key development stages. There's no beta stage and no Q&A stage scheduled at all, anywhere in there. If you were not a crowdfunding platform, and if you were actually using this whole concept, everything that they have now, and you just transferred that Kickstarter campaign that they have now, and use that to try and apply for a grant, for financing of some sort, not having a beta and not having a QA would be basically an automatic disqualification, because it's a red flag that you don't know what you're doing, that you don't have experience. You cannot have a production schedule without a beta scheduled and without Q&A, especially when you're using a new type of a hardware, which is the good whatever good screen or good deal screens that they're using. So that to me is a big problem. So far I've been voicing concerns. Are there any positives regarding this one? Yeah, of course there are. It looks good. I love how the gray one looks. Finally, we've been able to see that. I love the dedication of the team. They seem to be very dedicated to what they are doing, and that's definitely commendable. But at the same time, while they are dedicated and they are trying to appease to the backers, which, makes sense because they're trying to get the money, at the same time, they show a very real lack of interest in the e-paper community, in understanding what the needs are. Just the example of where the review units has been sent and all of that kind of stuff. They have been sent to channels that don't do e-paper type of stuff. So we're not getting relevant information. And there is a tendency to continually misrepresent things. So that's something that I've already talked about, so I'm not going to repeat myself. So those things combined, yeah, they are working very hard, but the focus, I don't know what the focus is. It looks like they are trying to make an Android 11 tablet with a DS screen. That's about it. And that's not what e-paper community is after. So to be honest, I am not at all surprised at the results that we have so far and that we see so far. I hope, for the sake of backers who are supporting and believing in this project, that things will improve dramatically, because they absolutely have to if they intend to deliver on November as projected. From my experience and what I've seen so far, I have absolutely no doubt that something will be released this year, most likely. However, the consistency, quality, and the longevity of the thing that will be released is something that I do call into question. Magpie Wars. And I question that, and I don't have too much confidence that it will result in a positive experience. It just doesn't look like it, unfortunately, at this time. It looks like it's much more likely to be a good enough type of a release. And what does that mean? Well, that means that because of the lack of time, lack of manpower, and lack of experience, that things will be implemented up to a point where they are no longer breaking. So once a thing is no longer breaking and it's good enough, then it's checked off as done. And to me, that's not done. That's just the beginning of the journey, because you absolutely need to have an iterative refinement process, and I don't see that being scheduled, and I don't see that happening in the span of 3 months, especially when you consider the amount of work that will need to be put in and that's remained to be done. So I wish that we would have been able to see a lot more out of the software side of things, out of the screen side of things, out of the refresh side of things, then I would have had much more confidence, and I would be able to wholeheartedly recommend this. But everything that I've seen, everything that I've been very closely monitoring this. I'm not going to back it up. Sorry if anybody found this video to be overtly negative, but the whole thing is objectivity, and that is what I objectively see from the videos, from the behavior, from the communication. I understand the enthusiasm of the backers, and that's great. That is absolutely great, but I would just advise caution that you don't get too disappointed, because I believe that this will be released, but the state of it when it is released is not going to be good. So just keep that in mind, and then allow the team and everybody at least 6 months to kind of iterate the whole thing and then get it to where it needs to be, because that's a more realistic timeline. Since it looks like the early backers are actually going to be the beta testers, and the first print or first mass production is going to be the one that's going to be used for establishing quality assurance and identifying problems and stuff like that. So that is the adventure of being an early adopter of a new technology. That is the adventure of being a backer of a Kickstarter project. So people who do that, they understand that. I just want people who may not keep that in mind to just be fully aware that that's what Kickstarter campaigns are all about. You do a leap of faith and you see what happens, and then just allow a lot of time, and hopefully the team behind this project will continue to be invested in their product and after the launch, and they will be able to kind of refine it to what it potentially can be, and potentially it can be a really good thing. It's just that at this moment in time, with the amount of time left for the November launch and where it is right now, I don't like it, and I don't see it as a good launch. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video and if you liked what I do, then like and subscribe and ding the notification bell to get notified when new videos on my deep guide are released. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in the next video. Bye.